In the past 10 years, I've used lots of different ways to market my video production services. And some of them worked really well, some of them didn't work at all. So I've put together a list of 10 I wanted to share with this video. And I'll share briefly my personal experiences because I've actually done all the 10 that I've listed here and exactly what clicked and what didn't click. So hopefully you don't make some of the same mistakes and you could follow some of the things that did work for me in the same exact way. And in the description, I'll put some resources of some of the things I've come across, some platforms that I found helpful. And if you want me to dive deeper into any one of these, please let me know in the comment section and I'll make a dedicated video. Now I'll start with the most common, which is cold calling or cold emailing. Now this is the one that most people pursue because it's the first one you come across. And cold calling is definitely not my favorite and I don't have much experience in that, but I do in cold emailing. Basically, the concept of this is called outbound marketing or outbound sales, right? They don't know anything about you, but you reach a potential prospect that could become your client, and then you try to convince them to buy your service, right? Your video service. Here's the problem with cold calling. You're going to get rejected so frequently that it becomes a numbers game. Basically, for any warm lead that you get through that process, you may have to get rejected 100 times, and that is not really where I want to be. Now, one of the best way cold emailing works is if you are very, very targeted in who you reach out to. So one of the best ways cold emailing worked for me was with my video streaming service where I was trying to get film festivals to come on board. So I made a list of all the film festivals in the US, which was about 3,000. And then I sent a very targeted email to all of them using a platform at the time called Mailshake, which is still around, and I'll link it below if you want to check it out. Using this kind of outbound marketing is a 3-step process. You have to have a list or have one made. You could get a virtual assistant to do that for you. You have to come up with email templates or call for a script so you actually reach out to them with something valuable and not just a hard sell. And then you have to actually turn them into a warm lead and convert them into a client with some follow-up emails. Now, the second option is another form of outbound marketing with direct messaging on social media platforms. Now, this typically is used on Instagram and is also used on LinkedIn. For video production services, I highly recommend the LinkedIn route if you want to direct message people using the built-in LinkedIn messaging platform. Now, with LinkedIn, you could exactly find out the position of a person in a very specific industry. So if you search for an industry and their title, you will get a list, and then you could just go ahead and target that based on your area. So I could put my city here, and then I could go down the list and make connections. So I would use the same kind of technique I would use with cold email marketing. I would basically offer some value and then see if they could benefit from my video production services for their business. This has to be very targeted and it is time consuming, but it's one of the best ways for free to actually get a warm lead. Now, the third one people don't really think of as marketing, but word of mouth is typically how almost all of us have gotten clients in the past. But here's the thing with word of mouth that most people don't think of. This usually just happens for most people naturally and it's out of their control. Someone's happy with your service, they refer someone else. The thing is though, you could actually make this a process that you could put into action. Meaning, after you have a happy client, you could actually ask for a referral. I typically do this when I close a project and a few days later, send them an email asking if they have someone that they know through their network that could use the same service. Now, this is key. If you do this every time, you're basically getting clients for free all the time. And you're not waiting for someone to just out of the goodness of their heart give you that type of a project or a referral. Number 4 is in-person networking. Again, not one of my favorites, but I notice a lot of people that think of networking and basically trying to get clients through networking go to the wrong type of networking events. For example, they go to filmmaking type of networking events where you meet other people like you. Well, the key here is to find a specific industry and see what kind of events they have and then go to those events. There is also locally, typically at least in the US, there is Chamber of Commerce events where all the businesses in a local area gather typically once a month and you could go and network there. Now, this is if you're good at in-person networking and you could actually walk up to someone, introduce yourself, and start a conversation. That is not something I'm good at, but I did try this in the beginning, and I did eventually send a salesperson to these type of meetings to try to close some sales and to get some warm leads. The next one is a big wing of marketing, which is public relations. You'll see a lot of public relations firms out there. Basically, the way you could use it for a video production service is you could have some sort of an article or some sort of press release written about you and distributed throughout the web. Now, there are platforms that actually help you with this process. So when you have an accomplishment, let's say you won a Telly Award, or let's say you moved your location, or let's say you hired someone else, you could have a press release written about that, or you could even write it yourself and try to get it distributed. Newswire, for example, is one of the distribution platforms that you could use to self-distribute. It's very expensive, but you got to think of the power that press releases could have for your business if they're used correctly. Now, the main reason I use public relations was because typically it's really hard to get an article in some publications, right? But through press releases, you could get that done. And then you typically get a very powerful link to your website. And that is related to search engine optimization. That helps you rank in Google, which I'll talk about in a second. But using press releases on public relations is a really powerful way to do that. Now, online paid advertising these days is definitely my favorite way to market my business. And right now, the biggest platforms out there are the Google and YouTube ad platform, which is the same ad platform, the same company. There's the Instagram and Facebook ad platform, again, the same company. And then there is the TikTok and LinkedIn, two separate ad platforms there. So there's 4 big ad platforms you could utilize right now. For the B2B services, typically when I sell my video production company services to another company, I typically like to use the Google and YouTube ad platform, and specifically YouTube. With YouTube, it has all the targeting that you need. So as long as you know who you're trying to reach, YouTube is going to give you a ton of data in order to do that. So then you basically could use your power to create a video, use that as a pre-roll ad, and get people to basically learn about your business and contact you. Now, Google works in a little bit of a different way where it uses search intent. So when people look up video production company near me, yours will show up in the search results. Again, I use those in combination all the time, and I have for the better part of the last 10 years. Now, the next one is content marketing. Basically what I'm doing here, you create organic content that you post either in video format, in audio format if you're doing podcasts, or even in text formats if you're using platforms like LinkedIn. And you would basically educate your audience about something that they care about or that could benefit them. Now, if you do this often, you actually get a lot of leads coming to you as you build up your audience, right? So typically, this is called organic content marketing. Now, this is not just limited to YouTube and making videos like this. Actually, I'm just experimenting a lot right now with TikTok and LinkedIn organic content marketing, because as those platforms have really grown, especially LinkedIn organic marketing wasn't really there. LinkedIn was more directed for that direct message and connections and LinkedIn ads. But now organic content on LinkedIn has a lot of power, so I'm exploring that right now. One of the first ways that got me clients when I first started was search engine optimization, sometimes referred to search engine marketing. Basically, the concept behind search engine optimization is you think of a keyword that your potential audience is searching for, and you try to optimize everything around your website to rank organically number 1 or on the first page of Google. So Google Ads, for example, lets you rank number 1 just by paying for that spot. But search engine optimization, which takes a really long time for rank for a specific keyword, could help you rank organically. For example, if you search for video production company, you'll see some search results that are a video production company on the first page. You could actually optimize your website to land there. There's really 2 sides to search engine optimization. One is called on-page search engine optimization, which is optimizing your website. So make sure the right keywords are there, make sure the content is organized and search engine friendly. There's plenty of platforms like Ahrefs that lets you look into that to optimize your website. The second and the harder part is off-page search engine optimization, which is basically trying to get backlinks back to your website. Backlinks are pretty much what I explained with public relations. When someone writes an article about you, they put a link to your website, that's considered a backlink. Now, typically, it's really easy to get backlinks from directories or YouTube, right? But it gets a lot harder as you try to get backlinks from more reputable publications or that are harder to self-publish to. So this becomes a whole game, and it becomes a very long process, but it's well worth it if you have the time right now. but you don't have money to invest in things like paid advertising. The next one is email marketing. I use a platform called ActiveCampaign to do this because it lets you basically segment your audience. So let's say you're doing video production for multiple different things and you're even doing weddings. Well, you could segment that audience into groups. So when you're sending an email to them to market your business, or maybe you have a special offer coming up, only the right people get that. So that is done through ActiveCampaign. Now, the big benefit of email marketing and why most marketers think of that as their most valuable asset is because you don't rely on other platforms for this, right? They somehow gave you an email at some point. Typically, I get emails through offering something for free, and they have to give me an opt-in in order to get that. And then they become part of my email list. And then I could send out valuable information, and once in a while, tell them if I have a special offer. So if you have a special offer for Black Friday, for example, through your video production, you could actually offer that to your email list. Now, typically I build out my landing pages on my website to capture emails and not just get phone calls, so I actually could apply email marketing in the future. And the last one I have a lot of experience with, but with video production, I'm actually starting to try it right now, which is using influencer marketing. Now, there are typically people that have gathered your audience, right? This could be through a podcast, for example, or maybe they have a YouTube channel or they have a blog. You typically could buy a spot or try to organically get their attention to get you a slot in a podcast, for example, or do a guest spot in their YouTube channel or even through their blog. Now, this is huge because they already have the audience you want to have, right? They've gathered the attention of the right people. So if someone has a podcast talking about video marketing for a specific industry, you should try to get in that podcast if that's the type of videos you make. Now, you could actually explore this just through the podcast platforms or Spotify to see if they're out there. And then you will find some, and you just have to contact them and offer them enough value for you to be potentially a guest on a podcast. Now, influencer marketing obviously goes a lot deeper, but for video production services, you typically want to get on these type of platforms where someone else has gathered the attention, has a channel, has a following, and you could have just a genuine conversation talking about your craft and how you help businesses with video services. Again, if you want a deeper dive in any one of these, let me know in the comment section, and I hope you found this useful. I'll see you next time.